All right, let's move on to the last email today.
All right, Bobby Drumond says, "Hey, John, I was watching the newest Weekly Hero. I love that show, by the way.
Thank you.
You and Robert were talking about X-Men Dark Phoenix, and what you were saying broke my heart. My question is, do you think there is any chance left that this movie could surprise us? I'll keep my fingers crossed. Thank you for all you do, and let the filthy flow."
All right. Okay, so this is breaking my heart here. So if for those of you who did not see the Weekly Hero yesterday with me and Robert, here's the thing. You guys know that I have been telling you forever. Whenever you hear reports of there was a test screening and people gave it a standing ovation, I'm like, never listen to that. Because reports don't come out from test screenings. That's why they're test screenings. Then when you hear there were test screenings and people hated it, BS. BS. Like, sure, there were test screens. There were not real reports about that. BS. So we've seen that on both extremes. That early cuts and everybody loves it and then turns out to be a crappy movie. Early cuts and everybody hates it, turns out to be a fantastic movie, right? And I always tell you guys that. And then all these people whispering, oh, Dark Phoenix is a mess. But I tell you, you know what? Just ignore all that noise. Ignore all that noise. This movie is going to turn out to be just fine. Then the trailer comes. And a lot of people complaining about the trailer. And I say, screw that. I think this trailer looks fun. I like the trailer for X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I've been telling you guys, keep your heads up. I believe in this. Like, I'm a little shaky that they've got a director for doing as a first-time director on a movie this size. And that's fine. Although he knows X-Men better than anybody else in the world, but still. Well, then I was talking to somebody about a week ago who is very connected to this. And they just said to me, the only two words they said to me, I didn't ask for any details, nothing. It's terrible. Now, I'm like, okay, it's just one guy's opinion. There are people out there who think The Dark Knight is terrible. There are people out there who think The Godfather is terrible. They do exist. So I'm like, okay, it's one guy saying it's terrible. Well, then Robert, who is better connected in this industry than I am, Robert gets this full length write out from somebody that is very closely connected. Not only saying this is awful and terrible, but goes out to lay out the film and like all the things they've done wrong and blah, blah, blah. And it's just absolutely terrible. So anyway, we talk about this on the Weekly Hero yesterday. As a result of the Weekly Hero going up, just before I go to bed last night, I lay in bed every night, grab my tablet, go over my email, Twitter, whatever. And an email comes in from somebody I haven't actually talked to in a couple of years, but who is very interconnected into this whole situation. And they were like, hey, saw your thing on Weekly Hero today. This movie they used the word disaster.
Oh, wow.
They said this is a disaster. There's actual panic going on right now.
Man.
They really don't know what to do with it at this point. And on and on and on and on. Some people bring up the question about why did they even make this movie in the first place? And I will confess, even though I have been very enthusiastic about it and telling you guys, don't you panic about this. This is X-Men. This is going to be wonderful. Look at the role Fox is on. They did X-Men First Class. They did X-Men Days of Future Past, one of the 10 best comic book movies ever made, by the way. They did Logan, which was the best film of 2017, by the way. They did Deadpool, which is amazing. They did Deadpool 2. This group is on a roll. Let's sweep X-Men Apocalypse under the rug for a second. And then to hear all this stuff and see all this stuff, and I'm telling you what, I'm already heartbroken. Now, let's put this with a giant grain of salt. This is still just the opinion of a couple of people. That could be very different from my opinion once I see it, and could be very different from your opinion once you see it. Maybe I'll see it and I'll think it's the greatest movie ever made. Maybe you'll see it and think it's the greatest movie ever made. That's completely possible here. This is just a couple of people's opinions. So let's not get overwhelmed and start losing control here. But I do got to tell you what, it breaks my heart a little bit because I've been a fan of this franchise since X-Men 1. I think X-Men 2 is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. I want them to, and this is going to be the last real film, X-Men universe film, notwithstanding New Mutants, but the real core X-Men film that we are going to get before Disney takes over Fox and they wipe that universe away. And I really want them to go on a high note. So I don't know. Now, Aaron,
Yes.
as somebody who is not like a hardcore comic book movie fan, like a lot of the nerds on this show,
Love the nerds.
What's kind of your impression of the X-Men films? And when you hear about where this is going, and what did you think of the trailer of all the stuff you've heard and seen about the movie coming out? Where have your expectations been for where this thing would be?
Well, okay. Here's the thing. When you say it's one person's opinion, the issue with that is that one person, who is it? Is it my grandmother? Is it my next door neighbor? Or is it someone who has a legitimate, valuable, position who knows the audience? The X-Men audience is more discerning than, say, the 50 Shades of Grey audience, who can say, who don't necessarily care if it's the greatest film ever or if it follows a certain, there is a certain, the audience is just more discerning and they have higher expectations. And so I think that when you're talking about people's opinions who are closely connected to the film and they know where that bar is, that is concerning. And I do think it's frustrating and it's sad because this franchise has been so exciting and has launched the careers of many people and therefore deserves to be able to go out on a high note if this is in fact the last one.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, the one bit of nervousness I've had about this film has been the fact that we've had Simon Kinberg, who's going to be directing it. Simon Kinberg, who is a king in this industry as a writer and as a producer. He's overseen some of the biggest and best comic book films ever. He's great. But I was always just a little bit nervous as a guy who's never even directed a short film, to just have him step in. And people go, yeah, but John, he knows X-Men better than anybody. What does that have to do with directing? Do you remember that awful Dungeons and Dragons movie? There are very few people on the face of the earth who know more about Dungeons and Dragons than the dude who directed that movie. And that movie sucked. So, I've been nervous about that. Is this an issue of the script? Is this an issue of directing? Or is it no issue at all and this movie is actually perfectly fine? We're just going to have to wait and see.
Well, do we know exactly what they're saying is wrong with the movie?
Yes, but I ain't going to share that.
Oh, okay.
That would get into spoilery territory stuff. I cannot do that. But I just don't know. Again, this could be a situation where, number one, bad information is being passed on through a broken telephone line. Maybe it could be a situation.
Multiple broken telephone
maybe.
lines?
Hey, it's happened.
When it's multiple broken telephone. I don't know.
It's happened. Also, this could be a matter of, hey, this is just a couple of people's opinions, regardless of what position that they're in, or it could be something we need to panic about. And as somebody who has been telling you guys to relax, this movie's going to be great. It's a little bit embarrassing that I got to get on here and tell you now. Actually, now even I'm, from people I'm trusting, hearing that this movie may not be so good. But hey, let's temper our expectations. And let's see what. I still believe this, though. There are still people saying Disney's just not going to let this movie get released. Why would they do that? The money's been spent.
Yeah.
It's not they're going to save any money. The money has been spent. You might as well put it out in theaters and get $250 million back.
And just do a Serenity press junket. Just not tell anybody that it's coming out.
They think that it's so bad that they're thinking about not releasing it?
That's what people are speculating, but I don't believe that's true at all.
No,
I don't believe there's it would make no financial sense. There's no financial reality that exists that it would be a good idea not to release the film. Because even if the film is one of the biggest flops ever and only makes like $250 million, that's $250 million you're leaving on the table.
Right. You're going to try to recoup some of your losses.
Yeah, you got to recoup
it's
some
like
losses.
Fyre Fest, you just have to recoup that money no matter what.
Yep.
What's the guy's name? I'm looking forward to that getting a nomination for Best Documentary. Yeah. One of the two, Hulu, Netflix, are going to have to battle it out for first and second place in the Oscars next year.
What was the guy's name? Was it Billy? Was that the
guy?
Billy.
I can just see
Billy.
the opening night of Dark Phoenix,
I think so.
And Billy is standing up on a crate telling everybody, "No, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, we need Billy.
Just
we need
go
Billy
grab
to
a
sell this
tent.
movie.
Yeah, we got tents sitting up along the streets of Hollywood
If you were promised
Boulevard.
a villa, screw that. Just go get a tent.
He's like, you guys are all getting popcorn, and everyone just gets like one nacho. They're like,
right,
what
a
is
piece
happening?
of bread with like an American
By
slice
the way,
on
I
it.
know a lot of you guys are going, what the hell are you guys talking about?
Oh.
Watch the Fyre, F-Y-R-E documentary on Netflix or Hulu right now. Both of them are really
You
good.
should
They're
watch
very
both
different.
of them.
It's kind of crazy.